Everybody you meet said, I lost my daughter, I lost my son to drugs, to fentanyl, mostly to fentanyl, but to drugs. Families are being destroyed, and we're going to stop it. We're not going to let that happen.
Donald Trump, then president-elect, promised in December to fight against fentanyl. The DEA says drug overdoses are the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 44. Most of the states have seen fewer deaths over the last few years, but it is still a crisis. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin and his wife Suzanne are fighting fentanyl through education and their initiative called It Only Takes One. And they join us exclusively from Richmond on this National Fentanyl Awareness Day. Governor, Madam, thank you so much for joining us.
Good. Thank you for having us. And what an important day for us to come together to fight against the scourge of fentanyl and overdoses. In Virginia, we have had an aggressive campaign, and we were just named by the CDC as the top state for reducing fentanyl deaths and overdoses. And that has been a giant step, a big collaborative effort that has included lots of steps. Reducing the drug flow. We've run a very, very targeted campaign, and we've seized over 500 pounds of fentanyl, nearly 800 pounds of fentanyl that has saved 8 times the number of Virginians' lives because we took it off the street. We've enhanced our legal frameworks. We've made sure that education has been broadly disseminated so that everyone understands that, yes, it only takes one pill to kill or one conversation to save. And finally, we've equipped everyone with a way to resolve an overdose with a naloxone overdose antidote. And that's been hugely important. It's been this comprehensive effort that I believe has allowed Virginia to bring fentanyl and other overdoses down in a way that leads the nation.
This is such an important initiative. Mrs. Youngkin, can I ask you, your husband's It Only Takes One initiative has a line on its website, and I want to read it for our viewers. It's not a matter of if your child is offered a pill with fentanyl, it's a matter of when. So what can parents and young people do to stay aware of the dangers of fentanyl?
Yes, we have been disproportionately focused on youth in Virginia. We lost 100 youth in 2024 to fentanyl poisoning. However, that compares to 200 lives lost in 2023. So the numbers are moving in the right direction, and we're very, very encouraged about that. A recent survey in the Commonwealth of Virginia by the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth showed that almost 70% of young people see pills and powders used in social settings. So this is not a situation where any youth is immune. Parents need to be aware of what their children are hearing and seeing. These drugs are sold on social media platforms that are very popular, places like Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok. Parents need to understand that these drugs are inexpensive to make, they're easy to access, and they're killing our kids.
Governor, let me ask you, the president has largely blamed Mexico and Canada for the fentanyl crisis, saying they haven't done enough to stop the flow of these drugs across our borders. Now that these tariffs are tied directly to efforts to curb those drug flows, have you seen that impact in your state?
Well, yeah, we know that the source materials for fentanyl start in China. They go through Mexico for production, and then they come into the United States across the border. And the first step has been the president's amazing efforts to secure the border, and he has done exactly that. So the big reductions that we have seen last year were before the president was in office, and therefore I expect to see substantially higher reductions this year because we've been able to further interrupt the flow of these drugs. I mean, we have had collaborative efforts, local, state, and federal resources across 13 states working together in order to interdict this drug trade. And now with the border secured, we will see substantially further reductions, and that's the start. But it does not stop the need for us to make sure that everyone understands that one pill can kill. That one Percocet that you thought you had bought because you had a pain all of a sudden is laced with fentanyl, and you lose a loved one. And I think the efforts that have been undertaken across the country have been extraordinary, but we need to make sure we continue to save lives and that stay focused on this most important issue.
And it's such an important one that you are focused on in your state. But let me ask you one last question, Governor. Today marks, as you know, President Trump's 100th day in office for his second term. Now, the actions that he's taken, along with DOGE, have had a huge impact on federal workers, many who live in Virginia. Many of the farmers who live in Virginia in your state have talked to us about those deep concerns that they have over the tariffs. So what do you say to folks right now who say, at this moment, these tariffs are inflicting real economic pain on them?
Well, let me just begin with the comment you started with the efforts to reestablish fiscal responsibility in Washington. And we have a $37.5 trillion debt load, with $2 trillion more having been added every year. And so the need to reestablish fiscal responsibility is real, and American voters sent the president to Washington to do exactly that. We understand that there are going to be job losses in Virginia, and every job loss is a tragedy. And what we have done in Virginia is recognize that our economic strength, the fact that we have had a rapidly growing job market, we have over 225,000 open jobs today that are not filled. We have lots of opportunities for folks. And so as we see the reality of some job losses, we expect people to be able to transition into these other jobs. I will say Virginia's a little protected here, although we do expect to see job losses because we have a substantial number of our workforce members who are in the military, are in the national security environment, or the intelligence world, and those areas are getting increased funding. But all in, I believe it's the strength of our economy in Virginia that are going to provide this great path for folks to find a new job and hopefully a new future.
So acknowledging that there may be some job losses and economic pain as these policies get implemented is an important message for your constituents. Governor, First Lady, thank you both very, very much for this important message on this National Fentanyl Awareness Day. We appreciate your time.
Thank
and
you,
if I can, Vlad, I'd encourage everyone to go to itonlytakesone.virginia.gov and find resources that can help you have that most important conversation. A coach, a teacher, and most importantly, a parent with a child, so that they know that it only takes one pill, but also it only takes one conversation to save a life.
We will make sure that we highlight that on our website and when we post this, Governor. Thank you very much. Thank you, First Lady.